Well, tool time. Today I'm going to review this LED work light from Harbor Freight. Now this thing was a bastard to track down. My Harbor Freight where I normally shop did not have one. For weeks I went back there and they were always out. And one day on an unrelated task I was passing by and saw a Harbor Freight, little Harbor Freight in one of those little strip malls. So I decided maybe I'll stop back, see if they got one on the shelf, and lo and behold they had one. So I picked it up, ran like hell to the front of the store, threw it up on the counter, paid for it, and ran like hell to my car before anybody knew what I was doing. So let's go ahead, get this thing opened up, charged up, and see what it's like.
Looks like I'm going to need a new blade for the old razor knife.
It's actually got a little bit of heft to it. USB charging port. It does bend 180 degrees all the way around. It's got a magnetic base on it. I have not charged it yet, but oh yes, there's a charge in it. It is a cob LED, obviously, and it looks to be pretty darn bright. Press the button and just leave it. It turns on high. Press the button again, it just turns off. But if you press it quickly, it goes to low, and then it turns into an actual flashlight with LEDs on the end. Not too sure how awesome that's going to be, but I didn't buy it for that anyway. I bought it for that. Let me charge this thing up and then we'll do some proper testing. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the amp meter and we'll see how much current this thing draws. It said I can draw up to 1 amp to charge it. It's got a kind of a cool red LED right in the middle there. It's kind of a neat touch. It's pulling 70 milliamps at 5 volts. I'll leave it charged up for 4 hours and then I'll bring you back. Well, I decided to wait overnight. It's the next day now and you can see it's turned green. Should be ready to go. This has a removable battery with it. Got a nice rubber O-ring for sealing. This is actually looks like a pretty nicely built flashlight. It's machined aluminum. Battery is an 18650, which looks like a generic no-name Chinese brand. That's alright. If it goes out, just get one of those nice sannios and put it in there and you'll be ready to go. Got a fine pitch thread on it. Comes apart and goes back together again very easily. Okay, I'm going to do some little unscientific testing here. I've got a solar cell here hooked up to the scope. Turn the lights out. Okay, you can see the output here around the yellow line. That's 0 volts. Turn the flashlight on, see what it does. Got almost 400 millivolts with it on. Put it on low and see what it does. And we've definitely got some pulse width modulation or something going on. See if I can capture that. It looks like we've got us about 500 microseconds of division, and it's pretty consistent. Well, as you can see from the oscilloscope shots, that This doesn't have just some cheap resistor when you put it into the low mode. It's got actual pulse width modulation, which is really nice, and it looks really clean. And it looks really well built, but the question is, how does it perform? Well, it's been a couple of weeks since I started filming this review, and it's given me a chance to use this light around the shop and around the house and around my cars. Before I did that, I was going to tell you that this is a pretty darn good shop light. It's pretty well built. However, after using it, I'm going to revise that recommendation. And I'm going to tell you that this is hands down the best work light I have ever used, period. I've used tons of them. I've used the old-fashioned treble lights. I've used the floodlights. I've used these high output halogen bulbs where if you touch them it'll burn the flesh right off of your body. This is far superior to any of those. It stays cool when you're using it. I can get this thing behind the firewall of my car, behind the engine, and look at stuff, which is very difficult to do. Even with a flashlight it's hard to do, but it's no problem at all with this light. The magnetic base they have on this thing is just right. I mean, they've got this thing just dialed in. It's not too strong where you're wrestling it to get it off of the whatever you're sticking it to, and it's plenty strong enough the light will stay there while you're working. You can I've bumped my head on this thing with it stuck to the roof hood of my car, and it stayed put. So what do I not like about this? And there are some things with this thing that I don't like. One of them is it only goes like to 90 degrees, no matter what way you put it, which when you're using it's fine, but the problem is when you're trying to store it in your toolbox. I mean, it would be nice to have an additional joint like right up in here, so when you fold it down you could actually fold it so it would fold all the way up against the flashlight, so it would be easier to store. The other thing is this flashlight on the very end of it. That's just silly. I mean, this is kind of a waste of space and a waste of money to put this on there. Save a couple of bucks on the flip. Nobody's going to walk around with this light like this, and it's only got like one LED. It's not very strong. You could just as easily use it, just use that as the light and walk around with it. But this is not a flashlight. It's designed to use close up when you're working on things, and it does that very well. The LED light is meant to be used in close quarters. Unfortunately, finding these lights it's almost like seeing a unicorn, especially where I am in Minnesota. These are really tough to find. Sometimes they're not in stock. Although I did manage to find one, and I got two other ones because I like them so much. I'm going to put one in each shop and one in the house. See that they have increased the price from $29 to $34. Which figures, because these things were so popular that they were just flying off the shelf at Harbor Freight. So even at the $34 mark, I think it's worth getting it, but make sure you use your 20 or 25% off coupon when you buy this to make sure you get the good price on it. And if you see this thing, I paid $19.95 for these when I got it. At $19.95, it is an absolute steal. Buy a couple of them if you get it for that price. So the bottom line is, yes, they are absolutely worth getting. They're fantastic. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.